In these uncertain times, contactless delivery, stay healthy. We'll get through this together. Advertising changes its pitch lines. This is the focus group.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the focus group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Hey, welcome to the focus group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Tim Bennett. Welcome to the new week. FocusGroupRadio.com is where we want you to go to find out all about me and Tim and the show, Focus Group. You'll also learn about Unbuttoned, our Tuesday podcast, which is 3 short stories, releases Tuesday morning. Quick in, quick out. I think you'll enjoy it. And we're brought to you each week by the magic of Garrett and Steve, the boys in the booth. Guys, how are you doing?
Still alive.
You must be the only 2 people working in New York in an office.
I think we're the only people in the building.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Like you'll see one person come in like for a day or an hour or something, but that's it. Come in to grab something maybe.
I know we have to be like the only people in the building because the doorman keeps coming up on our floor to take a dump. So we must be the only floor with an active bathroom.
Well, that bathroom doesn't lock anyway. That's a nasty bathroom.
Do you
guys, you don't go in there much, do you?
No. I don't.
You don't need to. But when I go in there, that bathroom needs an overhaul.
Do you guys? Are you guys wearing face masks or anything like that? Or you just? And do you see a lot of people wearing them?
Oh yeah.
Sometimes it feels like literally everybody but me is wearing one.
Really? So it's kind of becoming like Tokyo during the flu season.
Oh yeah. At least 80% of the people have them on.
Yeah.
The Japanese. I read an article that the Japanese actually view the face mask wearing as a courtesy because they don't want you to get the germs or something. Now, it looks like Tim's got a dark beard. What's going on here? You did some, that's...
So I'm glad you noticed. So I think it's hilarious because I don't use makeup, right? But so Paul and Mass had watched the show. Our good friend Paul and Mass, everybody knows Paul. And so he had said, I guess I made mention that my beard was coming in gray. He said, go buy a little bit of brown mascara and just rub it on your face a little bit. So I did today to see what it would look like. I, of course, did not do a very good job. But
I couldn't tell. Looks fine to me.
But I will, I need, a lot of people are growing these Corona beards. I need to, it's starting to bother me a little bit. So I'm debating whether I take it off or not, or I just let my hair and everything grow long until this epidemic's over.
I think it actually looks good. And I noticed it right away when you came on. So before we started recording today and coming out to you live, and thank you for joining us, by the way, during these uncertain times. I was talking to Steve, who was in the booth waiting for Garrett to come up, and Steve mentioned that he had drinks with a friend the other day, and it's been probably, Steve, what was it, over a month since you had a drink?
Yeah, it's been at least a month.
Okay, so think about that for a minute. And it was 2 drinks got you hammered, right?
Yeah, 2 drinks, I was almost falling out of my chair. It was pretty funny.
You're not drinking at home?
No, I don't like to drink alone. Like it just makes me depressed.
Oh, I didn't know you were alone.
Yeah, a little bit.
What's your drink of choice?
Whiskey. I usually go for Jameson and ginger ale.
Oh, hardcore.
Jameson. All right, my old business partner, Greg, his nickname was Mr. Jameson because he loved Jameson. And boy, did he love it. Although Greg himself, like the last time I saw him with his girlfriend several weeks ago, it was pre-corona, he really doesn't do anything anymore. So he
really
no drinking,
no wow,
no pot, no booze, no nothing. And I'm like, wow, that's exciting.
See, now I've been smoking a ton of pot. That's the other thing. I haven't been drinking, but I just about every day blowing down like a half an ounce.
Hey, now that's an interesting question. I'm assuming that people are still operating the delivery services.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, because legally...
That's essential business, isn't it?
Very much.
Well, it's black market essential, but here in Massachusetts, across the border in Massachusetts, they no longer allow recreational sales, but they do allow medicinal sales. But on May 4th is when the ban is supposed to be lifted, and I hope it's May 4th because any Star Wars fan out there knows that May 4th is May the 4th be with you day. May the Force be with you day. So, so I think
Or
it'll
they
be
could have done it on 420, right? April
It could
April
have.
20th.
They should have, but they're waiting to be there. What's that? What is the phrase they're using? With an abundance of caution. They're waiting with an abundance of caution. So that's actually, we're going to talk about an article later in the show that came out by a woman who has been watching a lot of broadcast television and actually has noticed this entire pivot, as most of you have probably noticed in all advertising, to every message is now somehow about the coronavirus. So yeah, that's that, right? But I am discovering some interesting TV. Okay, so our new show, the one that in fact, I lost sleep over watching an episode of this yesterday. It's called The Loop, and it's on Amazon Prime. Tales from the Loop, and it's a sci-fi series in the mold of the Twilight Zone, I would say. So it's more psychological. Weird things happen. And last night's episode, or the one we watched last night, two boys discover this. It's this total teenage story. They discover this like sphere thing, and one says to the other, "Go inside. Go." It looked like a diving bell. And so one kid goes in and he just disappears into the black, and then they do an edit, and the next thing you know, your vision is the camera view is looking up at the sky, and the kid that went into the sphere has swapped bodies with the one that was outside, his friend. So the sphere does something where it swaps you. You change bodies. And they do this for a day, and one of the friends wants to stay in his friend's body because he prefers the life his friend has. It took a really dark turn, and there was nothing horror. There's no horror. There's nothing bad about it, but it really kept me up at night. I was thinking about it. I thought, what if you did that? What if you swapped bodies with a friend?
And you enjoyed this? This is like your miniaturization thing. You enjoyed this?
I did. I hate miniaturization.
I know you do, but that's all sci-fi, right?
It's total
or
sci-fi.
form of science fiction. So this kept you up. What were you thinking about? I think you think too much about some of these things. They're just entertainment, John. You turn it on, you turn it off.
Well, the whole series is based on these weird things happening, and there's connection between the characters. The stories don't necessarily overlap; they're independent, but there are some connections, and there's this thread running through it, as one critic said, of this existential idea of loneliness, about being separate, like you're in your own body. You experience the world one way, someone experiences it slightly different. You think you're having the same experience, but in actuality, you're two different human beings. It's really smartly done. Bob and I were transfixed. I mean, we both, it was like the drool cup,
Well, listen, you're a drool cup of the commercial, so I don't, if Bob was interested, I'll understand. What network was this on?
Amazon Prime.
Okay, I'm going to have to look at it. I saw the trailer. It looked like there were some little robots and things wandering around.
The landscape.
As soon as they introduce that stuff, I'm out.
Well, here's the thing. The landscape that this town is like, there's a town in Illinois, and it's built over a particle accelerator called the Loop. And no one really knows what they're doing at the Loop. It's underground. Everybody works there. And there's technology littered around, like the robot you're talking about, just standing. Like the camera will pan by a robot or a strange object, and it's all part of the environment. And yet the cars look like they're from the 50s or 60s. The clothes the kids wear look like stuff from 65. It's just, I think it's smartly done. It was interesting TV.
I'm going to give it, can I watch one episode and decide whether I like it or not?
Most assuredly. And in fact, the first episode you will definitely like. It's a little bit of a mind bender, no doubt about that.
Well, I like that, so I'll give it a try, because if you
Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, it feels like that. It's intellectual. It's not horrific. So, did you catch anything new that no one knows about yet, or?
No, somebody suggested. One of my neighbors suggested here that I watch Unorthodox.
I heard about
this. Have you heard of that? But I have not. I have not watched it. And another neighbor said that they had taken her recommendation and they actually enjoyed it. They said it was a little hard in the beginning. I guess it's about the Hasidic Jews in Queens or Brooklyn. I don't know exactly where they are,
probably Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, and this woman escapes from what they're identifying as a cult, but it's religion. So this woman escapes, and it's a true story about her trying to get away from the religion. But everybody says it was good, so I may give it a try. I like docuseries, but that was about it. And I wanted to ask you something else. We kept getting all of these requests from people to join Alignable. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. So what is
It's
a lag?
aggravating, is what it is. So it's like a LinkedIn sort of thing, and so
Okay.
they must have found us on our LinkedIn profiles. And I don't know if you got an individual email, but they contacted Triberry, which is our agency, and said, "Would So some person contacts us and says, we want to give you leads. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to list you, blah blah blah." And it lists other companies. So I said, "What the heck?" I give them our email. I give them permission, and then I'm bombarded with, "What do you think of this? What do you think of that?" Marianne's Yoga Company. I was like, I don't want to talk to Marianne's Yoga Company about, let's get together for a drink up in your neighborhood, because the business is listed in Manhattan, right? So there's all these people now that want to meet us and go to these networking things. I finally shut it down. I unsubscribed and I shut it down. But you'd be shocked the amount of people that are on it that we know, and the businesses. But it's I don't know if it's a networking thing for businesses. I can't quite understand what it is, other than we were swamped with emails.
Other than you were swamped with, well, our thing
So I
was
shut it
swamped.
down because I just didn't quite understand what the deal was. And I can understand a networking thing for businesses, but make sure they're relevant. Some of the stuff that was coming in was just so random and out of the blue. It was crazy. So anyway, I didn't know if you were familiar with it, or you in fact got the invite as well. I think it might have just gone through LinkedIn through Triberry.
I think it went exactly. I think it went to the Triberry thing. So earlier this morning, I was talking to Bob, and I said to him, and this might go to your parents too, but I said, I wonder if there's a way for us to kind of drive by my mom's house or your mom's house and do a drive-by hello from 6 feet away. And I thought to myself, how does that work? And then I had this flashback to Grey Gardens, the second movie. Which was the second one?
The Beals of Grey Gardens.
Correct. Thank you. And you remember where Big Edie sits at the screen for most of the movie and talks through the screen to Little Edie? And I thought, I wonder if you pull that off. You sit on my mom's deck like 7 feet away from the sliding glass door with a mask on, and we could chat for a while and get back in the car. I just feel like it's weird that we haven't seen her or Bob. And Bob's mom lives in an apartment complex that's for seniors. They're locked down. She's not really allowed to go out or have guests in. So unless we went to some courtyard and waved to her window, which is weird, right? And if you had to go to Connecticut, would you actually, you'd feel okay seeing your parents, wouldn't you? Or would you?
Well, I feel fine, and as you do, so I would probably be okay. Although, as I told you earlier, my dad had some sort of a scare, which I need to check up on. But, I feel fine, but I don't really feel like I want to travel up there. My mother was all tuned up about Easter.
Same here.
And
Tim, where did this come from? How are both our families so aligned on the egg hunt, the bunny, and my mom was like, I bought the girls chocolate bunnies. I got to mail it to them. Is there something about our past that Easter was so?
I don't remember it. I remember going to church, and I remember getting a new outfit sometimes, and the Easter bunny came. That was about it. But I don't. Yeah, my mom went out and bought chocolate bunnies, and then she was wrong. She thinks she got the wrong kind. And I was like, Mom, we might get them in June or July, but don't worry about the bunnies. So
my mom did the same thing. She said, honey, I sent you a card for Easter. Did you get it? And I said, where'd you send it? She said, to your apartment. I said, well, that's in the city, and I'm up at the country. When are you going back down? That's going to be a while. Actually, we were thinking of taking it. We've done it twice. We've gone in, and I call it a hit and run. We have it all mapped out. We park. And I think I'm going into some kind of like weird zone where I have to wear like radiation gear. Right? And then you pull it up to the building, and there's kids playing with their parents. Everybody's 6 feet apart. Hi, how are you? It's like normal. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. And you wash your hands. You put the mask on. But we've done a hit and run before, and I was thinking of doing that to get the mail and just to walk into the apartment to actually say, oh yeah, we live here, but not right now.
Is the train running? Could you do a Hudson run?
You could, but Amtrak, as you know, is running on a
limited schedule.
Well, limited is actually implying there's a schedule. I think they kind of do it catch as catch can. Like Tuesday, what do you think, guys? Well, let's run the train down at 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
So what caught your eye? Ooh, that wasn't
what caught your eye. Here's what Tim and John found.
So I was poking around, and I found this article that caught my eye. It was in the Forbes business section, and the headline was "People are luring Instacart shoppers with big tips and then changing them to zero." So they talked about since the end of March, and now into early April, the amount of people that are doing these shopping services. So Instacart being one of them, where very similar to Lyft or Uber, where you go on, you hit the app, and you say, "I want to get X, Y, and Z for items," and then these Instacart shoppers, of which they've hired 300,000 in April, additional.
300,000. Wow.
That's how
okay.
much, right? That's how much business has gone up. So you look at so similar if you were an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, you look at the items, you look at the location, and then the person puts a tip on there. And so then you decide whether you, as the Instacart shopper, is going to run out and get these items and then deliver them. So there's usually just like an $8.95 or $8.95 Instacart fee per order. And then there's an option for people to leave a tip. And they said, unlike Uber or Lyft or some of these other driving services or other app services where it gives you maybe 10 hours, it allows you 3 days to make a decision. So what a lot of people are finding, a lot of these Instacart shoppers, and they're starting to protest, is people will say, in order to get things quick, and they said it's happening mostly in the affluent areas, if not only in the affluent areas. So this is kind of also sad, I guess, is that people will say, "I'll give you a $50 tip additional, or $55 or $60, $100 tip, whatever." Person accepts the order, runs out, gets the items, brings them, delivers them, drops them off at the house, and then the people zero out the tip to nothing.
That is so
sleazy.
Here's a word: skanky. It's skanky. I haven't used that word in a long time.
Right. It's a lot of bait and switch. And so a lot of these Instacart folks say, "Listen, we live on our tips. We make, half of our money that we earn is based upon the tips that we get." Right. So, and this is happening all over the country. They did a story. They talked about somebody in the Philadelphia suburbs, somebody in Portland, somebody down south in Atlanta. And so this keeps happening. So a lot of these Instacart shoppers threatened that they were going to protest and go on strike, quote unquote. And unless Instacart had guaranteed them a guaranteed tip, whether it's 5% or 10%, just so that they feel like they haven't gone out and done this. And you do all this work and then you get no tip, which I think considering what's going on, I think is sleazy. It's sleazy to do anyway, but to really make somebody run out and do this and lure them with this bait and switch of the tip. One person said that she got berated by one of the customers because the woman asked for toilet paper and hand sanitizer. And then a whole list of other stuff. They said it was over 130 some items that they wanted. And the woman said, the Instacart shopper, when you respond, said, "Doubtful we'll be able to get soap, toilet paper, hand sanitizer, but I can get all the other things." So when she got there, the woman took the tip off and gave her $1.
$1?
Right. Even though it was all the other stuff. So I just thought, come on, people. It's, these Instacart shoppers are going out and doing your errands for you. They're putting themselves in harm's way by being out in public, right, and shopping and doing the work for you, and then delivering it to your house, and you're going to give them no tip or make it $1. So the one thing that Instacart has been doing now is you have to actually type in a 0. You can't just say no tip. Before, you could just leave it blank and you can pretend you forgot. But right now you have to actually go in and hit 0. But again, the workers are still trying to get Instacart to put a guaranteed tip on, at least during the pandemic. And I don't know if that's been resolved yet. But I read that story and I just thought that's just so sleazy.
Isn't that upsetting? I mean, $1 is such an insult. It's the equivalent of my grandmother sending me an Easter card with 3 quarters taped to it. And back then, that was, oh boy, I got 75 cents. I'm going down to buy atomic fireballs and penny candy.
And those necklaces that stick to you.
Exactly. And giving a buck to somebody for all that work that's human behavior during the time of the pandemic, right?
Yeah, but it also reminded me now when you were an early adopter of Uber.
Yeah.
And you and I used to use Uber in business a lot of times. And the one thing about Uber initially was you never tipped, right?
That was part of it. It was a flat fee. You knew what you got, and that was it.
But then
And then they added tipping.
and I don't like the tipping thing. So it's changed. I know we use Ubers around here a bit. And for some reason, sometimes the app accepts it, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what the issue is with the app, but I do kind of wish they would just have a flat fee in these services. That's the one thing I liked about Uber. There was the Uber driver or the Lyft driver knew what they were getting at the time they picked you up, and that was that. There was none of this exchange of money or additional tip. I don't know. I like that model better, but that's just me.
You know, a lot of the restaurants up here are closed, as they are down by you, and it's all takeout. And it's good.
Yep.
We try to support the restaurants at least once a week. We have like a revolving. There's not many. There's not like there's a ton of them, but but one of them we called the other. It was our anniversary last week, and we called, and it was your birthday too. And we called and we placed an order. And at the end, I said I'd like to add a gratuity, and the guy's like, "Oh, that's very kind of you." And I said, "Well, doesn't everybody do that?" Long pause. He said, sometimes. And it just made me think for a minute, like, well, why is it any different? It's a restaurant. It's an employee. You want to still say thanks for the service, and
Right.
everything's perfect with the order. People are just weird. I'll just tell
Yeah,
you.
they were talking about it up here that they were recommending that with all the takeout that's going on is just to give 20% as if you were in the restaurant because of the fact that these people are probably working just as hard in the kitchen to get these meals out and packed up. So that's what I've been doing is I've been giving them 20%.
And I think that's a smart idea. So what caught my eye was something about recycling, and I'm fascinated by this in the headline. And one of I think it was Bob, aka Buffy, had sent me a tweet. You can tell how
A twit?
a tweet a while ago about this same thing. And the headline reads: "Scientists create mutant enzyme that recycles plastic bottles in hours. A bacterial enzyme originally found in compost can be used to make high-quality new bottles." So they've been looking at this for a while, a way to break plastic down with either an organism, like there are worms that eat this stuff now, and they did this thing where they looked at what do we call them again? I'm spacing here. Compost
Enzymes or compost heaps?
They looked at a compost heap, and they went back and they did all this research, and they found that this leaf enzyme enzyme that's released from or certain organic matter, particularly I think leaves, was actually good at breaking down this plastic, and in fact it breaks it down to 90% of its original volume, and then they process it from there. So this company called Carbios started to do this, and they're partnering with Pepsi and L'Oreal to accelerate the development even further, because here we have two companies that use a lot of plastic, right? That's the big dark secret. Like Pepsi has Dasani and all their stuff, and lots of plastic bottles go out the door. As a corporate citizen and as a responsible one, I'm sure they would like to get ahead of this and try to optimize the recycling. Interestingly, when the enzyme breaks this down, the quality of the broken down plastic is better than what they would normally get on the open market when they chop the bottle up and grind it and heat it up again. And they could actually use this recycled plastic for food packaging and other things that have a more sensitive nature to them. They don't make rugs and clogs out of it. In other words, it goes right back into the stream of actually packaging goods and services.
So this enzyme doesn't eat the plastic. It just breaks it down a little bit so that it's reusable in a better form.
Exactly.
Sort of thing. Okay.
Exactly. It
That's
literally
interesting.
That's fascinating. I think and the fact, what really caught me about this was the business model behind this of who you're going to get on board, namely some of these big soft drink companies, and they're going to start helping that. But what I found most fascinating was, here we go again. The solution existed in nature all along. It was in a compost pile. And someone went back and did more research and looked at some of the enzymes that are basically out in nature, breaking natural things down. And guess what? They found one that breaks down plastic.
I wonder if so all that plastic that's out in the ocean, I wonder, could they collect that? And then I wonder if the enzyme, would they have to put it in a compost?
They would probably do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the article finished by saying scientists are also making progress in finding biological ways to break down other major types of plastic. In March, German researchers revealed, this is the one that Bob, aka Buffy, mentioned, a bug that feasts on toxic polyurethane. While earlier work has shown that wax moth larvae, usually bred as fish bait, can eat up polyurethane bags. Who knew that
Wow.
in nature that there's these things that can do that, right?
Can eat bags. Well, my dog will eat a bag. But
Your dog also like walk right by you if something's wrong. Not Spike, Trixie.
Trixie, she could care less. She's the most independent little dog on the planet. Spike, on the other hand, he's a little needy. But Trixie could care less. Just does her own thing. So, hey, our business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
So here's somebody we should know. Conrad Hubert, born April 15th, 1856. He died March 1928 at 71 years old. He was a Russian-American inventor known primarily for the flashlight. And so in 1868, at age 13, he and his family went to Berlin. They went to study liquor distillation, so they learned how to make liquor. And while he and his family were there, they decided to leave and head to the United States because of all the issues that were going on with persecution with the Jews and Russian Jews. So they had gone to the United States, and actually that's not his real name. He changed his name to Conrad Hubert. I'm not even going to try to pronounce what his real name was. It's Akiba Horowitz. So when he got to Ellis
You got
Island,
the last name right?
yeah, Horowitz is easy. Akiba, A-K-I-B-A was his name. I'm guessing it's Akiba or Akiba. And so when they got to Ellis Island, although when they liquidated all of their assets in Germany and they got to the U.S., it was barely enough for anything. And so they came to the U.S. like many immigrants with no money, and they wanted to try to get into a liquor distillery business like they did in Russia and Germany, but they were unable to. So he decided to start with his family a cigar store in New York City. And so for a number of years, they had the cigar store. That didn't really work. They did a restaurant, a boarding house, a jewelry store, a farm, a milk wagon, and then landed finally on a novelty shop.
Wait. Can we go back to the milk wagon? One milk wagon? It wasn't a fleet?
It says the milk wagon route. They had a milk wagon route. So none of that seemed to really catch on, but they ended up landing on a novelty shop, or he ended up on opening a novelty shop in Manhattan. And pretty good address, by the way. It was like 42nd East 60th Street or something. I mean, that was a pretty good location. So the known as American Novelty in Manufacturing. And his best-selling item was a battery-powered flashing tie clasp. And so he was fascinated by this battery thing. And at the time, there was a lot of development going on with batteries. So there was a powerful D-cell battery that was also being used for something that they called a powered torch, or they nicknamed a flashlight, because the battery would only sustain power for a short amount of time. And they were playing with these electrical or battery-operated torches that could light natural gas products. So there was a guy who worked for him named David Mischel, or Missell, M-I-S-E-L-L, and he got a patent for this flashlight, but didn't really want to do too much with it, wasn't too interested in it. And Conrad ended up buying it from him. And then he started playing around and working and invented what we know today as flashlights. Had it in a wooden case. He did bicycle lights, and ended up keeping this patent under the American Electrical Novelty Company, which he sold all the flashlights under the Everready brand, which we all know Everready batteries, which in this day and age, it's been sold since he died. He had no heirs. He left his money to a Protestant, Catholic, and Jewish entities for it to be split equally amongst everybody. And then his company was eventually bought to where it is now as Energizer Holdings. So what started out as a tie clasp at a novelty shop turns into this major battery corporation because of him buying the patent for the flashlight that no one was interested in.
The humble flashlight, which when I was a kid, I remember the very first flashlight I got. I think it might have been for Boy Scouts. It was a Boy Scout issued flashlight, I think. Boy, did we have fun. It allowed you to go out and play at night in the summer.
I was going to say, what would you do without a flashlight, right? I mean, who doesn't love a flashlight?
You could have flashlight games, and nowadays, my brother-in-law Herb loves flashlights. Did I tell you this before?
No.
Oh my God!
No, does he have a collection or something?
He has select flashlights, and one time we were visiting him and Lisa, And he comes
Select,
out of the
what
house.
is it like? This one's only for the outside. This one's for the inside. This is for little fixing, little repairs.
Or this one projects a beam 500 feet, or like what crazy stuff. Like, so he comes out to our car and he has something in his hand and he says, "I can't let you go unless you have a flashlight in your car. Do you have a flashlight in your car?" And I said, no. Okay, you got to take this. It's a heavy duty thing. It's fantastic. You turn it on. It runs off some very few batteries, but it can throw light beam like no one's business. And sometimes we'll take it out of the car and we'll walk around the property or something, and we'll just do that. We'll see how far it goes. But yeah, I love flashlights too, I think. And what a clever thing, right? And it's the origin of the Everready brand.
Yeah. No, I thought it was interesting. There were a couple of other birthdays too, but I thought a lot of porn stars born today. I don't know why. I know Paul and Mass would have liked that.
No,
but
name one.
Jenna Jameson or something like that.
Okay, yeah, that's a famous one. Yeah.
And it was, but back in the day, we had more time. We might have done the porn stars. I don't know. Is that considered a business birthday?
Sure, it is entertainment. And wait a minute.
Sure it is.
Guys, everybody, guys in the booth and Tim, is that a business birthday? It's the oldest profession on the planet, and you're wondering if it's a business birthday, right, guys?
I agree with John.
Oh, especially her. She really built herself up into a brand.
Oh, she did, huh?
Yeah.
And I forget the name of the movie. It was something ridiculous, and I wish I could remember it now. But it was they used the alternative spelling of COME. And I just laughed when I read it. They talked about the most popular movie. But yeah, so I'll make sure that I'll include porn stars next time when we have somebody boring.
Did everybody check out this kerfuffle that's going on about Disney Plus? So the movie Splash with Tom Hanks, it's one of his younger roles. He plays this guy who falls in love with a mermaid. And there's a scene in the movie where Daryl Hannah is walking back into the water and you see her ass, basically. Well, it got it a PG-13 because it's backside nudity, which, for God's sakes, I mean, we all know what that looks like. But Disney went in because they're putting it on Disney Plus, and they actually digitally added hair that came down her back to cover her backside, her buns. And everybody's in an uproar because they're like, wait a minute, why'd you bother even doing this? Oh, it's Disney Plus. It's just kind of crazy what they do, right?
That's a little too wholesome. I thought you said they gave her a hairy back.
No. They obscured it, got rid of it.
Which would be better. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got shop talk to share with you. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. We're sheltering in place, although I don't like that. I just prefer to say we're staying at home.
You're in isolation.
We're in isolation. We're in quarantine. Hey, while we were at break, we got a note from Lauren, our friend over at Deep Discount. She loved Unorthodox.
Really?
And
okay.
She said to watch it. And then she asked us a question. She goes, have you ever watched a show called Don't F with Cats? Have you seen this? I did see it. I loved it, Lauren. Don't F with Cats. Because
you had said it, but wasn't it something that wasn't there? It was like a sadistic thing, wasn't it?
No.
No, what's the premise? Because there was something you had mentioned it a while back.
Oh,
what's
yeah. I don't remember now. I'd have to look it up again. But I thought it was just that the cats are actually born from predators. I mean, when you think of tigers and lions, they're not exactly the friendliest creatures. I mean, they're adorable, but they can really do stuff. So who knows? I'll have to look that one up. But I do remember seeing the series. It was a while ago, actually.
Yeah, I thought there was something. I thought there was something non-cat related about it that kind of I was a little scared about. But I'll have to check that one out,
that's
too.
A good one. All right. So as we teased at the top of the show, advertisers have definitely pivoted on the this whole coronavirus. And we have an article that talks about that. And the article is The Strange Comfort of Coronavirus Commercials. So I began noticing this myself 2-3 weeks ago. The quick, and Tim and I have talked about this on a number of occasions, the speed with which corporations and brands either repurposed existing creative, came up with new stuff based on footage they might have had and maybe a new voiceover from a celebrity or something. But it was pretty quick. And in fact, last night, during a commercial break, we were watching just the news. I wrote down the following things in a 2-minute commercial pod. During these stressful times, in these uncertain times, a lot has changed overnight. Contactless delivery, stay healthy. We'll get through this together. We have been through many challenges. We'll get through this. We're here to help you during these challenging times. I mean, it's all, if you did a word cloud, remember, you know those word cloud things?
Yep.
I guess challenging times, stress, contactless would be the big words, right?
Yeah, we're here for you. We're here to help. You're exactly right. Everything's been, essentially you can trust us, but we're here to help. We'll be here. We're here for you, all that sort of stuff. I saw the one recently. Did you see the Jeep ad? So it was the former Super Bowl ad with Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. And that was to encourage you about going out, and they used the riff on the Groundhog Day movie. But this one essentially says, stay home, be safe. The trail will be waiting when this is all over. But it's trying to be all the very reassuring. It reminded me a bit after 9/11 when lots of advertisers had to pivot pretty quick and get rid of any sort of violence, and even things with music. So when you had given me, or when you had selected this as our shop talk, I went ahead and I did look about seeing if there was any guidance from radio stations, terrestrial radio, about music being played. And they said there really wasn't, other than some people have been joking about it. So, for instance, one of the more, can you just guess off the top of your head one of the more popular songs that was from the 80s that people have been playing?
Now? Or back
on the radio. So this is for the pandemic. So a lot of radio stations are now, they're similar to the advertisers on TV, will be playing music. And when I saw the song, I just busted out laughing. It was a very popular song in the 80s. I don't know if you can, just off the top of your head, think of it, or the boys in the booth could think of it.
I was thinking Video Killed the Radio Star, but that is totally not where you're going with this, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the first.
Yeah. No, it's from the Police. Don't stand so close to me.
I should have known that. I'm a Police fan. I
Right.
should have known that.
That's getting a lot of airplay. Don't stand so close to me, which I laughed at when I saw that. And then Peggy Lee's Heart, Someday We'll Be Together, from Diana Ross and Supreme. So they were talking about how music will sometimes inform this, similar to what the TV advertisers or the large advertisers are doing through television. I remember after 9/11, there was a whole group on our old show we talked about, a whole group of music that I wouldn't say banned you to play, but suggested you not play.
It was shoved off, yeah. Hey, quick sidebar. Tim, you were 100% correct about Don't F with Cats. The subhead is Hunting an Internet Killer, and yes, I got the two series confused. So there is another nature series about cats or the hidden predators, and they want to kill you in your sleep. It's kind of a funny little pet series. This one was about a guy that used to torture animals and post videos on the internet, and a group of people actually traced him and tracked him down, because then he also killed people too. So anyway, back to advertising.
Where'd you find? Did you Google that, or somebody shoot that to you?
No, I just Googled it on the web.
You're
browser.
a pretty good multitasker. Listen, I need a tech lesson again with this whole thing. I've got so many screens open, I can't read a darn thing.
In these challenging times, you need an intervention.
I need a lot.
In fact,
if there's anyone out there who does anything about Google AdWords, please contact me at tim@triberry.co. It's tim@triberry.co if you know anything about Google AdWords.
And that's honestly an open request for help, because Tim has tried to navigate that crazy system. All right, wait. Back to our advertising thing for a second. I find that this is a vexing time to be in the industry, not only on the client side. Me and Tim had a career, many of you know. Tim was corporate side, I was at agency side. Agency or corporation doesn't matter. If you have a product or a service that you want to connect with an individual, you're not going to do it right now. It's just, unless it's something basic like food or car servicing, I suppose, because we do need to get cars fixed or serviced, right?
Right.
So I wonder, I learned that some major ad agencies have just furloughed a number of their employees, which is not surprising given the fact that everything's come to a complete standstill. But if you're at corporate level and you have an ad budget that was already allocated maybe December, January, right? Maybe Jan, Feb of this year. And all your event sponsorships are going up in smoke if you haven't paid for them already. What are those internal conversations? How are people pivoting inside companies to start talking about, or are they just all saying, hey, we can't talk about a thing until this is, like, what would you think?
That's a good question. I think it depends on your industry. So if you are someone like McDonald's or Domino's or any of these companies that do delivery, meaning Domino's Pizza, right? It's delivery of pizza. They can talk about how they have been here and always been here, and you can trust them. And we take great care in delivering you pizza. We're providing you a service, and we're going to donate X amount of dollars to healthcare workers or whatever. I noticed a lot of the places here that are part of big chains will allow you the opportunity to donate some extra or donate a meal to the healthcare workers in the area. So I think large companies would do that. I remember, again, my only experience internally within a corporate advertising department was after 9/11. And we had a few commercials that they weren't violent, but they had an explosion or they had some sort of chase in them for some of the launches of new cars. And all that advertising was pulled and not able to be used, just to be sensitive to to what was going on in culture. And I'm sure there's a lot of that. If you look at what's going on in any of the trades, there are a number of products that might have been put on hold, or they're just waiting to see what they can do. People are not. We had talked about this, I think maybe it was on the phone or maybe it was on our podcast, about the role of influencers or celebrity being a little bit tone deaf during this. I think it was on Button this week, about somebody saying, "Oh, we're Madonna was in a bath of rose petals," right?
Or David Geffen's in a yacht somewhere at sunset with a drone taking a picture of him on the yacht. Yeah, I'm going to really feel like I can relate to that.
So I think there's this. I think as you opened up this segment with the "We're here for you," we've been here for you. You can trust us. We're with you. We're in this together. That sort of reassuring thing that we're not necessarily getting from a lot of the leadership out of our elected leaders, I don't think. But there's that sense of hope, and we'll get through this, and everyone's going through it together, and there'll be better days ahead. And companies that can do that successfully, I think, will end up being the smart ones in the long run. I know the number of companies there's a company, I know, Boathouse Row Sports in Philadelphia, that makes rowing gear and then other sports gear. And they've totally on their own decided to manufacture masks way before anybody was looking for them. As soon as this thing happened, they jumped on it and started making masks for the people in healthcare, and then now just for all of us in general. Now they're asking people to wear masks going out. By the way, have you worn a mask out to the store?
Bob just ran him up on the sewing machine the other day. He downloaded a pattern. He's very crafty that way, by the way. And we have there's a black mask for formal events. There's one made of.
Stop.
I'm not kidding you. There's one with striped patterns, and that's called Fiesta, and that's for your daily walkabout. And then there's a plain white one, but it's not really plain. If you look carefully, it looks like a linen napkin, like a pattern of like some kind of thing. So we have not yet worn them out. He went to Lowe's the other day. No one in the store had them. I think they're going to be slow to. We see people wearing them. I saw someone jogging the other day wearing one, and they, by the way, they were jogging on an empty road. And when I say empty, I mean the only other thing on the road was a cow down the road and some chickens. And that's Yeah. So that's the level of. If I were in Manhattan, I would certainly be wearing a mask. I'm not sure if it would be protecting me, but I suppose it would be protecting others.
Well, they're not allowing you in some of the grocery stores here without a mask.
Without
you
one,
have to,
yeah.
you have to have one. But I wore one yesterday because I hadn't been to the market in about 10 days, and I don't like it. I had trouble. I got hot. It steamed up my glasses. I was like, oh my God, I don't like this at all. So I don't know how I'm going to do with the mask if it becomes a thing for the next 18 months.
Did you have the ones that just the ones you get at a hospital, like the paper with the straps and the okay, yeah. These cloth ones that Bob made, they can be washed. They're washable, thank God. I don't know. It's and everything's just so odd now. And back to your comment a moment ago that I just wanted to return to for a second. When you said after 9/11 you had to ditch some advertising that had been created and ready to run, in a matter of seconds, the decision that was made at the brand level cost you guys, I'm just going to guess, $3 to $5 million.
Oh, easy.
Creative out the window, right? Not every company can pivot that quickly and afford to lose that kind of money on advertising, right? So I think small businesses are probably going to be really hit by this because they can't even advertise themselves because they're closed. And what we're only seeing on TV is big brands doing this, right?
Right. I think you had mentioned earlier on our call that you stopped seeing cruise ship advertising.
Oh, it ran for a while and then it just dropped away because who wants to get on a cruise ship, right?
But if you had cruise ship or if you had advertising like that, hotel advertising, airline, the airlines, all that sort of stuff, I don't know. And particularly when you mentioned event advertising as well. So many companies want to do the experiential or the event advertising or large conferences. And a lot of that, yes, it's been paid for. People have already paid for the conferences. I don't know what's going to happen. They keep talking now about even having schools start later because they have to reconfigure classrooms and not have people so close. So I think this event and sport marketing that so many large corporations are involved in, they're going to have to. Everyone's going to have to figure out how to pivot. I don't think it'll go away. It's just going to be different, but we don't know what that is.
Perfectly said, because we really just don't know what it is. And we have Jason joining us on the line from New York City. Jason, welcome to the show.
I'm calling to place my order for mask.
Do you want the Fiesta or the formal?
Do you want the opera mask or the casual day wear mask?
Do you have anything with diamonds or anything glittery? No.
There should be one that's a nod to what's the movie with Marilyn Monroe? Some Like It Hot, because that mask would be the Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend edition, right?
Hot pink.
So Jason, you're staying home. You're doing good.
Well, I'm staying home. I'm busier than ever. Fortunately, knock on wood, because my company went online as of probably a month ago. And I have to tell you, I'm also in advertising, art director side. I am busier now than I've ever been when I was physically in the office. Do you guys find that too when you're working remotely?
I have to agree with you, Jason. In fact, I said to a colleague of mine the other day on the phone, because we're working as well. We have a number of clients we're still working with.
Yeah.
And I find that I'm more tired and more stressed out at the end of the day because these Zoom calls, these Zoom things, it's not the same as physically being in a room with people. It is very attention demanding, and you have to look at all the little people. And do you find that too?
Yeah, especially when you have more than 3 people. My team is a huge team. We have writers and project managers and at least 12 people. It's insane.
What category of advertising are you doing, Jason?
I'm in the pharma industry.
Oh, we're looking for a pharma sponsor.
We're looking for a pharma.
We're looking for a pharma sponsor.
Oh, yeah. My company is one of the smaller ones compared to all the other agencies. It's only 300 of us. Some of the other agencies are ginormous. But yeah, we do we're advertising for the pharma company. We're not the pharma company itself.
Oh. Hey, I have a oddball question for you. Work related. What does your team use? Are you primarily using email, or are you using Slack, or how are you keeping in touch with each other? Because normally you'd be able to walk to someone's desk and say, "Hey, could I get the layout for that?" Or "Could you send me the Illustrator version of that logo?" Or "I need the PI for this particular drug," if it was a drug you're advertising. But what do you? Because I find that stressful too, is managing all this digital communication.
I know. We've been doing the official policies to do Zoom, the Zoom has like a chat feature like Skype where you can send messages, quick messages, and also attach files and stuff. So in Zoom, there's like a feature where you can chat individually, depending on how it's set up. That's how we use it now, as well as email for like more long-winded stuff, but primarily Zoom.
Okay, I was not suspecting you were going to say that. I think of that tool as primarily a conference call tool, but the fact that it has chat capabilities.
Yeah, you can almost like Skype, where you can chat and do direct messages to specific people. I think it'll have to be maybe set up by a company, but that's how we do it. Yeah.
Okay, and obviously you're on the Creative Suite for Adobe, right? You're getting ripped off every month like I am.
Oh, who knows? Well, my company pays for it, but not me.
Yeah, but remember in the days we used to buy that, and you'd buy like Photoshop, and it would last you for 3 years, and then you buy the next one. But now it's like, got to pay the price.
One other thing, you would love the city now, because every day I try to go to Central Park and just walk and run. It is so empty and beautiful. It's kind of startling. I know you're a big biker and
yeah. So, Jason, there was a picture that was published the other day, and it came from, I think, New Delhi, and it showed it was split. And on the left was what a normal work day looked like, and on the right it was the day, like another day, like a day or two ago. The left one was a yellow. The left one had that sepia tone look. There was so much air pollution in the air, and the right one had blue skies. And you're like, wow, that's just a month of no pollution.
Oh, my God. Well, I'm glad to hear you guys are okay. I look forward to you every week. Stay healthy. Is everyone doing okay? Everyone.
And we'll let you know when the mask we'll let you know when the mask company's up and running. We're going to have day, night.
Yeah.
Tim, what was that Wendy said? Evening wear and all the clothes.
Evening wear. It's all the same.
I'm telling you, you could probably make some cashola on that. All right. Take care, bye.
Take care, my friend.
Thanks, Jason. I love that. That was the Where's the Beef commercial. That's still one of my favorite all-time commercials. It was back when the only problem we had was the Russians were coming. And
so what we're talking about is Wendy's ran an ad for, and it was during the Where's the Beef campaign, but it was like a Russian fashion show,
right?
And there was an announcer,
it was called
Soviet
fashion show.
Soviet fashion show, and it was a swimwear, and this woman comes out and she's wearing like a potato sack, and then the voice goes evening wear, and another woman comes out wearing the same potato sack. So they were showing the same thing coming down the runway all the time for different things.
But just a beach ball, so it's swimwear, and she comes out with a beach ball with the gray schmont on, and then it's like evening there, and she comes out with a flashlight.
You know what I should have done for this broadcast? I should have put on my formal mask. I should have had the black mask on.
Well, is it there?
They're downstairs. I should have brought them up. But I think that Jason's on to something.
Next week, just show them.
Because I said to Bob the other day, someone's going to make a killing with these masks. There's going to be R2-D2, Darth Vader. There's going to be Iron Man. The kids are going to have their little masks. They're going to be like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. I mean, they're going to do something. And then I thought, for the fashion conscious, you should be able. Burberry should come out with some masks to it's a plaid one or solid. I think these cloth masks are going to be with us for at least 12 or 14 months. I just have this suspicion. So I
jokingly took a Crown Royal bag and put it over my ear, and Richard thought that was funny. You can do a lot of things, but we may be too late. Tell Bob to get on the candeliers, though. We can still do that.
He refuses to let China produce those. He has to how he was with that, right?
I know. So, hey, everyone, thanks for joining us, and thanks for all of you that are tuning into our podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned every Tuesday morning. And then, of course, we're live here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. East. And I know many of you time shift, so you can find all of our current audio and video programming and past programming at focusgroupradio.com. Thank you, John. Thanks to Garrett. Thanks to Steve. And we want you to, other than don't text and drive Arrive Alive, we also want you to stay in, stay home, and be safe, or stay safe. I guess that's the thing. Stay home, stay safe, stay alive. Right, John? Is that right? You're looking at me. I'm sure I messed it up.
There we go. Correct.
Yeah. Thumbs up. Hey, everyone. Have a great week. Take care.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.